Today I am going to start the next and important simple permanent tissue. This is what? Sclerenchyma. Sclerenchyma is another type of simple permanent tissue and it provides mechanical strength to the plant with flexibility. Flexibility means you oftenly see when there is a blowing of wind, so you notice there is a bending of plant. There is a bending of the branches of plant. They are not supposed to break because of the pressure of wind. They are supposed to bend, and this is because it is possible because of the presence of simple type of permanent tissue, and this simple type of permanent tissue is what? Sclerenchyma. Now we will try to understand the structure of this Sclerenchyma. So student, watch very carefully in what way I am drawing it, because when you see the figure of this Sclerenchyma, you will find it is very complicated, but in what way I am drawing it is very simple. Let us see. When I explained parenchyma, in that I told you that the cell wall of the parenchymatous tissues are thin and they possesses intercellular spaces in them. Now when you will proceed to Sclerenchyma, you will read that in Sclerenchyma the cells are having thick cell wall, and in between the cells of Sclerenchyma tissues there is no intercellular spaces, or the very intercellular spaces if are present, they are very of micro size. So what I told you, two main characteristic feature, that cell wall of the cells of Sclerenchyma are very thick and they are having thick corner also. Cell wall are thick and they are having very thick corner also. So such properties provide the elasticity to the plant. So because when air blow, the plant or plant part supposed to bend, not supposed to break. See, I am going to make cell wall thick, and along with this I am also thicken the corner. This is very important as a characteristic feature of Sclerenchyma tissue. In such a way, when you will draw this Sclerenchyma, you will thicken the corner and make cell wall quite thicker in comparison to the diagram that you have studied earlier as parenchymatous tissue. So guys, this is what the portion I draw over here. This is Sclerenchyma. So I told you Sclerenchyma is provide mechanical strength with flexibility. Now the next type of simple permanent tissue is what? Is Claringhyma. Sclerenchyma is also another type of simple permanent tissues. It is very important. It is very important because it provides mechanical strength to the plant with rigidity. And I repeat, it provides mechanical strength to the plant with rigidity. Earlier I told you Sclerenchyma provide mechanical strength with flexibility, and Sclerenchyma provide mechanical strength with rigidity. Means plants are rigid, plants are strong. So because of this, they can be in standby position, they can face the pressure of air, but not to break. They have Sclerenchyma. Now we are proceeding to our next topic. This is what? Sclerenchyma. Sclerenchyma, the cells of Sclerenchymatous tissues are made up from dead cells. The most common example of Sclerenchymatous tissue is what? The husk of coconut tissues. The husk of coconut tissues is made up from Sclerenchymatous tissues. The cells of these tissues are of two types, or you may be said they occur in two shapes. These are the two shapes of sclerenchymatous tissue. One may be oval, spherical or rounded like a structure. Another you are going to observe it is more elongated structure. So this is these two structure of the cells of sclerenchymatous tissue is just to ensure the rigidity of that plant. So guys, here we have discussed three type of permanent tissue, simple permanent tissue. This is what? Parenchyma, modified as Claringhyma and Parenchyma. Detail we have studied in my previous video. Next is what? Claringhyma and Sclerenchyma. Now I am going to proceed the next topic. It is what? Complex permanent tissues. Complex permanent tissues are of two types. One is xylem and another is phloem. This xylem and phloem you have also studied in your previous classes that xylem is for water conduction and phloem is for the transportation of food material in liquid form. Now first before to proceed these xylem and phloem, I would like to explain why these tissues are referred as complex permanent tissues. Beta, nowadays you are when you proceed going to market, you observe there are so many type of market and there are so many type of plazas. These market or plaza means there are complexes. Complexes mean in a plaza or in a complex or in a marketing marketing structure body, you will notice there are so many types of shops in a particular places. Yeah, in a limited area there are so many type of shops, means clothing shops, barber shops and likewise. So why I am going to explain this? Because now I am going to proceed complex permanent tissue, and when I start the chapter I told you that what is the traditional definition of tissue, that the tissues are the group of cells, they are similar in structure and similar in function and similar in origin. Then afterwards I told you that the definition of tissues now quite change. In what way it change? It is changed that tissues are the group of cells, they may be similar or they may be dissimilar. Now in what way they are dissimilar? These complex permanent tissues are going to explain. Because xylem is the first complex permanent tissue made up from four type of cell. One is Xylem Parenchyma, Xylem Fiber, and the main tracheids and vessels. So these are four different type of cells. They are of different structure and somehow they are of different origin. In what way? Let us see. Xylem Parenchyma. The complex permanent tissue xylem is made up from these four type of cell, and one is what? Xylem Parenchyma. When xylem includes Xylem Parenchyma, so it is very clear to you that parenchyma is what? A type of simple permanent tissue, the very first type of simple permanent tissue. Then next is what? Xylem Fiber. Xylem Fiber is what? The type of sclerenchymatous tissue. The third type of simple permanent tissue is what? Short before I explained, that is Sclerenchyma. So here you are observing that xylem is possessing one parenchymatous cell in them, one Sclerenchymatous cell in them, and then two other modified cells, tube-like cells. These are further referred as tracheids and vessels. When you go through the diagram, you will observe these tracheids and vessels are these long tubular structure, and these long tubular structures are perforated. Perforated means the margin of these tube the outer surface of these tubes have some pores in them. Why they have pores in them, I am going to explain short after. So first of all, let us see the structure. In xylem, you have noticed there are 4 different type of cells are involved to make a combined structure, make a complex structure of xylem. So because of this, xylem and phloem are the example of complex permanent tissues. Now you know what is the role of xylem. Previously you know from your earlier classes that xylem root supposed to absorb the water, and this water absorbed by the root proceed up, transported up to the leaf with the help of these xylem tissues. So this is not an easy task, because when water moving up, then it has to face the anti-gravitational power. The water is supposed to carry up by opposing the gravitational power. So during this xylem, these tracheids and vessels arranged in such a way that when water is transporting up, then the gravitational force is what? You know, gravitational force attract everything toward earth side, but in this case water is transporting to upper side. So what happened when these tracheids and vessels arrange in such a way, they minimize that gravitational power, because they are going to have a capillary action. Capillary action is what in physics or in science you have studied. If you dip a handkerchief in water, then you will notice the dip part, the part that is dipped in water, that part also wetted, that is wetty. But some like this, I am going to explain with the help of this image. Suppose this is a vessel or pot filled with water. Now when you are going to dip this handkerchief or a piece of cloth in water, what you will notice? The portion that is dipped in water, obviously it will be wetty, but when you keenly observe, when you observe very in a focus way, then you will notice some part that is not dipped, but some micro amount of water also present, and that part that is above the level of water. Why so? This is because of the capillary action. So guys, what happened in this xylem? These tracheids and vessels also going to perform such a type of capillary action, and this capillary action is helpful to uplift the water against the gravitational power. So next, this is what? Xylem tissue. Now the next is what? Phloem. The another type of complex permanent tissue is what? Phloem. Phloem also complex because it is also made up from 4 different type of cells. What are these cells? Phloem is made up from these type of cells or these type of component. One is what? Sieve tube. Sieve tube. Another is what? Phloem fiber. Another is what? Phloem. This is phloem fiber. This is Phloem Parenchyma. And the next is companion cell. Phloem Parenchyma, you know, it is a simple permanent tissue. Phloem fiber made up from Sclerenchymatous tissue, that is another type of simple permanent tissue. And 2 other modified tissue are what? Sieve tube and companion cell. So by this explanation, I hope it is clear that why phloem is considered as complex permanent tissue, as I explained the xylem, because they are made up from different type of cell component. Now what is the role of this phloem? You know very well, in your junior classes you have studied that phloem supposed to transfer the food material in the form of solution from the leaf to various part of plant where it is required. So what is the role of these sieve tube for this food transportation? You know, this is sieve tube. The marginal end of sieve tube is have a sieve plate. This sieve plate is perforated with so many micro pores. Marginal end this one, marginal end this one. This is one sieve tube. This is another sieve tube. And in such a way, from leaves to various part of plant, these sieve tubes are arranged. You know, phloem is what? For the transportation of food material. Food material is in a solution way. So when they transfer the food in a solution way, the solution is very thick. So that thick solution, when moving from one cell to another or from one place to another, it creates a more pressure to the wall of these sieve tube. So bear that pressure, there is a support of another type of cell. This another type of cell is what known as companion cell, the another type of phloem tissue. When these tissues, sieve tube and companion cell, are performing such hard tasks, then they need of what? Then they have a need of energy. So for the energy, for the supplying of energy, they have some food reserve in them. There are present a particular type of tissue, and that particular type of tissue is what? Phloem Parenchyma. Because you know, parenchyma is earlier known as ground tissues or film tissues. The role of these parenchyma is what? Food storage. Here in this case, parenchyma is present in phloem, so the name is Phloem Parenchyma, that is to provide the energy for this phloem tissue. Now you have studied that this phloem consisting sieve tube, Phloem Parenchyma and companion cell. These three distinct type of cells are bound together. They are bound together with the help of these fibers, and these fibers are what? Phloem fibers. And you know, fibers are what? The example of sclerenchymatous tissue, another type of simple permanent tissue. So these what? There are four type of cells arranged to form a complex permanent tissue, and this complex permanent tissue is what? Phloem. So guys, today we have studied complex permanent tissue, xylem and phloem.